fiance lived rentree in my house for 6 months. Then after I revealed my inheritance, he demanded I buy us a house in both our names even though he wouldn't contribute and said, take it or leave it. So I called off the engagement. My fiancé Tom, 37 millions, and I, 28F, have been together 2 years. He moved into my house 6 months ago and proposed a month ago. I thought we were solid, but now I'm questioning everything. I inherited a fortune 3 years ago. It changed my life, but I live below my means. I work part-time as a teacher, travel, and have a non-profit in the works. I budget carefully so the money lasts. Only my dad and sister know the full amount. When Tom moved in, I paid everything except most groceries. He wanted us to eventually buy a bigger house together so his dad could move in. I said no to living with in-laws, but suggested maybe a separate unit someday. He pushed back but agreed we needed to discuss finances first. Tom earns $10K mon and has $100K saved. I have millions invested and about $40K month income from it. When I told him, he was shocked. He said if I have so much, why not just buy the house and cover everything? I explained that just because I can doesn't mean I should. First proposed separate finances, a joint account for expenses and splitting costs proportionally to income. I also told him I wanted a prenup. That's when things blew up. He argued we should be equal partners, meaning I buy the house in both our names, even if he doesn't contribute. We fought about this for days. Eventually, he gave me an ultimatum. Final offer, you buy the house. We each own 50%. I'll sign the prenup. Take it or leave it. I asked if that meant breaking up if I said no. He hesitated but said yes. So I left it. I took off the ring, told him it was over, and that he needed to move out. He backtracked, saying he didn't really want to end things, just wanted me to agree. He accused me of throwing away our relationship for money. I told him he threw it away by demanding I fund our life and give him half of assets I work to protect. Now I'm wondering if I sabotage my relationship. I love him, but I don't think it's fair to bankroll a grown man or accept ultimatums about my own money. H comments where OP has replied. Comment 1. The first dumb thing you did was tell him the amount of money that you have, cause even if you all do stay together and eventually get married, he's going to be constantly thinking about that money and trying to find ways that he can get as much of it that he can. Y'all gotta learn how to stop running your mouth so much. I understand that you kinda gotta let your mate know a little bit, but he did not need to know exactly how much money you have. Men can be just as greedy as women. Let a woman find out that a man's got a bunch of money, she's going to do everything in her power to get as much of it as she can. It's going to consume her. Men can be the same way, I think. You breaking up with him was probably the best thing to do, cause your marriage will be all about money. Oop, I agree with you. I normally don't talk about money or share this kind of information, but since we were engaged, I honestly thought it was only fair for both of us to understand where we stood financially. I realize now that it might have been a mistake, but at the time, I truly believed I was doing the right thing for our relationship. Comment 2. It was the right thing to do before getting married. Legally, when you get married, a lot of financial and legal relationships kick in. You have to lay your cards on the table before making this kind of commitment. Unfortunately, large amounts of money can make otherwise nice people crazy. I also came into money, and I'm lucky in that my husband is a reasonable and honorable person, as well as being the love of my life. No grasping or ultimatums. I'm sorry you had to go through that up. Your fiancé has shown you who he is. The money revealed his greed. I'm so sorry. NTJ. Protect yourself from a lifetime of him caring more about your money than you. Good luck up. Sincerely, Edit. When we first started dating, he understandably questioned how I managed my lifestyle on a teaching salary. I explained that I had a small inheritance, which allowed me to buy my house and have some savings to live on. I admit I may have been wrong to be vague, but at the time we were just starting to date, and I wasn't comfortable sharing all the details yet. My house is nice, but nothing extravagant, and during our relationship we always split expenses. 50/50ths, dates, trips, everything. When he moved in, I offered to keep covering the utilities since I was already paying them and he would handle groceries. Things were fine until after we got engaged. I pushed for us to discuss everything openly before marriage, and we agreed on most things. About his father moving in, this isn't something he wants right away, but he says eventually his dad would move in so he can take care of him. I adore his father, but I personally don't want to live with in-laws. His solution was that we should buy another house together, so he would feel like it's our home, instead of him living in my house. I understood that perspective, but the new house would also have to be larger if his dad were to move in, which I'm not comfortable with. About finances, initially when we discussed buying another house, the plan was to contribute together. But once we started looking at what we could afford, we had to lay our finances on the table. When he found out my net worth, everything shifted. He said that if we split 50-50, we couldn't afford a bigger house. And since I had the means, I should buy the house myself, but it would still be our house. I told him that whatever amount he contributes would equal his share of equity in the property. Maybe I was naive, but until this point, I never saw signs of him being a gold digger. He never pressured me to pay for things and always split expenses fairly. That's why this change has been such a shock. Right now, I'm locked in my bedroom, and I told him he can sleep in the guest room tonight, but that he needs to move out tomorrow. We haven't spoken since. That's where things stand. Thank you all so much for the support and comments. It means a lot. Update 1. Wow, this blew up. Thank you so much for all your comments and support. This morning I woke up and Tom had made breakfast and asked if we could talk. He said things got out of control last night and he wanted to explain his side. He told me he was upset that I had lied about my finances and felt like I didn't trust him. He said the money difference made him feel that I would always have more power in the relationship and that he might be vulnerable to financial abuse. He insisted that he wasn't interested in my money but wanted to feel that I would choose him over money. He admitted that he handled things badly and should never have reacted the way he did or given me an ultimatum. He said he felt lost and frustrated. The only thing he emphasized really matters to him is his father eventually moving in. They're very close, and he wants to take care of him as he gets older. He apologized, said he didn't want to lose me, and told me he was willing to accept my conditions. I apologized for not being upfront about my inheritance, but I also told him I wasn't sure I could continue the relationship. His reaction last night felt entitled and manipulative, and I'm afraid he was showing me who he really is. I told him I love him, but I'm worried money will always be an issue between us. If he's already pushing for a house before marriage, what else might he push for later? I explained that the only way I could even consider continuing is if he agreed to a bulletproof prenup stating that in case of divorce, he only leaves with what he contributed, nothing more. 2. Agreeing to buy a house together, but his equity would reflect his contribution only. I also suggested options like a guest house for his father or a condo nearby, but not living directly with us. 3. Creating a monthly budget where we both contribute proportionally to our incomes into a joint account for shared expenses while keeping our separate accounts for personal money. 4. Going to counseling together. He agreed to all of this. Still, I told him I don't know if I can trust him again and need time to think. He agreed to go stay in a hotel for a few days to give us both space. Right now, I honestly don't know what to do. Part of me sees his point and wonders if he just overreacted, but another part of me is afraid that if I ignore his behavior, I'll be setting myself up for bigger problems in the future. I would really appreciate your help in figuring out where to go from here. Comments where OP has replied. Comment 1. Change the lock of the house while he's at the hotel. I'm serious. Like you said, he's untrustworthy at this point. If you have a sick family member, you and your family look after that person. Dragging someone you've been in a relationship for 6 months into this is very weird, inappropriate, inconsiderate, and enforcing of him. Oop, thanks for the advice. I'm calling a locksmith to change all the locks just in case. We've been together for 2 years, but only 6 months living together. Comment 2. Please don't ever move a man into your home again. I know you were engaged, but next time look for a guy who owns his own home and has equity. I posted a few comments about people who marry to climb the property ladder. This guy has plenty of cash, or so he says, and could easily own a home or a condo somewhere, but he doesn't. He saw your nice home and figure he could marry you and get you to sell what you have, trade up, and he would be co-owner. Because once you marry and buy a new house, that's marital property. Don't do this again. Please. You don't need to date men in your financial bracket, but find one who did what you have done, invest in a home for himself. The other issue is the age gap. He's 37 and doesn't have his own home. Red flag. His dad is living on his own now, but he wants him to move in. Dad is probably in his 60 seconds and may be capable of living on his own for 20 plus years. I have a friend who is 86, a cancer survivor, and living on her own just fine. Find a man who shares your values and who is no more than 4 to 5 years older. 30 to 32 is a good range. If he doesn't own a house or condo, he's not for you because you need someone who is your equal, not in terms of net worth, but in terms of financial values. Find a guy who wouldn't quit his job, even if he won the lottery. High school football coach, doctor, university, scientist. Look at values. The lottery is 1.8 billion today. and if I wanted, I would still keep my job because I love my work. Update 2. Hi everyone, thank you so much for all the comments and support. I took some time away to think, talk to my sister, my therapist, and my lawyers, and I've made my decision. As much as I cared for Tom, I realized I can't marry someone I don't trust. What happened broke that trust, and I know it would always be in the back of my mind. In our marriage, every financial decision I doubt him, and that's no way to build a future. A few days ago, I asked him over and told him my decision. He admitted he messed up and wanted to try couples counseling, but I told him we're broken up. I agreed to counseling only as a way to see if reconciliation is possible someday, but truthfully, I feel like I'm just delaying the inevitable. I had already packed his things and he was hurt when he saw them. That was heartbreaking. Honestly, I felt really bad, but I knew I had to stand firm. He left with his things and is getting a new place. This has been heartbreaking and draining, but I know it's the right choice. Thank you again for the advice and encouragement. It really helped me get here. For those who worried about me making him homeless, don't. He makes good money and we live in a tourist city. Before moving in with me, he lived in hotels and short-term rentals for months. He hasn't paid rent here for 6 months. He'll be fine. He's not ending up on the streets. Next, story 2. Story. Boyfriend's female friend FaceTimed him late at night while drunk on a beach trip with other girls. So, when he said I was right there, they apologized saying they meant to call someone else. So my boyfriend Nick, 22 millions, and I, 20F, have been together for 3 years. He's a super nice, caring guy, and I've never had any serious doubts about things until last night. As the title says, last night while he was with me at my place, he got a FaceTime call from his friend M. Has known him a lot longer than I have. They grew up together, so I have always respected their friendship. I've also met M times, and she was always super nice to me and super fun, and we follow each other on social media. I've never had any reason to dislike her or disapprove of their friendship. So, in all honesty, her FaceTiming my BF somewhat late at night didn't raise any immediate alarm bells. However, before he answered, he warned me that M was on a beach trip with a few other girlfriends. There were 3 other girls, 4 total, including M. Without trying to get too carried away, I'd like to add some context. Obviously, my BF Nick is 2 years older than me. M and her 3 other friends are all closer to Nick's age, 22, 23, where I am yet to be 21, including that info too. Also expressed the fact that M and these 3 other girls in my BF all went to school together, all in the same grade, through high school and maybe middle school as well. Point being, they've known my BF for quite some time. They've also known he has been dating me for 3 years, as these 3 other girls also follow me on social media like M. I've met these other girls a handful of times, but he's not as close to them as he is with M. I guess the best way to summarize is they're M's friends, but because they all went to school together and are the same age, they're all fairly good friends. Anyways, he tells me M is FaceTiming him. He tells me she's with these 3 other friends and they're at the beach. I told him he should answer. Then they're probably having a good time and just want to tell him about it. He answers. M and her 3 friends all immediately start screaming my BFF's name. They then begin to scream his name, followed by "Show us your fat DC, CCCK." They were clearly hammered, but I was mortified. What the? My boyfriend seemed pretty shocked too. Told him he was with me and asked what the ad was about. The girls all had a mix of explanations. They're drunk. They meant to call someone else. It was an accident. I think I'm really struggling with this because I'm just so shocked and confused. I feel as though I can't blame my boyfriend because clearly this was not his fault. But at the same time, I do not understand why these girls, these women actually were all adults, would think that was appropriate thing to say to someone who has been in a committed relationship for years. It just doesn't make sense. I feel like I'm also struggling with this because it makes me wonder if my boyfriend has created an atmosphere where these women think acting this way towards him is okay. I feel like he would never do something like that, but I'm just at such a loss. Why would these women think that was okay? And why did they only stop when Nick told them he was with me? Also, for what it's worth, I'm obviously upset with these women too. We didn't hang out often, but I'm upset that the few times we did, they were always nice to me, and then they did something so vulgar and inappropriate. I just don't understand. I'm also upset at the fact that they did not produce a single valid explanation. Clearly, they did not mean to call someone else. They gleefully screamed my boyfriend's name half a dozen times as soon as he answered. And how was that an accident? This whole incident happened around 11 last night, and I fell asleep fairly shortly after. When me and Nick woke up this morning, we talked about it briefly, and then he left for work. M texted him and said something along the lines of, "Nick, you're being weird. We're just really drunk. Tell we're sorry." They were hammered. That was obvious. I still just don't understand why they did it. I've been inebriated and never have. I FaceTimed someone's boyfriend of several years and asked them to show me their penis. It just doesn't add up. Nor does it really add up that M said Nick was being weird. How was he acting odd? I think WTF was a pretty standard response to that sort of thing, unless they're used to him acting a different way. I just do not understand. The only person I've talked to about this was my best friend. She knows Nick well, only through me though, so maybe there is some bias and thinks that these women were probably just wasted. She said she agrees that while she and I would never do something like that under the influence, some women will, I suppose. She could be right, but again, I have a hard time making peace with that simply because I would never do that, and these women are all 2 to 3 years older than me. I suppose I just can't understand why older women would have such a lower level of maturity. I'm sorry for the long post rant, but I'm pretty upset and confused. I would love to just be able to shake this off, but it really shocked me to my core. I just keep hearing all 4 of their voices and the choirs of "show us your fat DCK," and I can't get over it. What the was that? So yeah, any advice or other perspective is appreciated. I'm just at a total loss of explanation right now. Update. Before I get too carried away, I would like to thank everyone who weighed in on this. I didn't expect it to get much traction, and I really appreciate the amount of you who commented offering your own insight. A lot of the comments made me laugh too, so thank you for that. I honestly don't have a crazy update that a lot of you seem to be expecting. I talked to Nick. I explained to him exactly why this whole situation made me so uncomfortable. Thank you for all the kind Redditors who simply suggested doing that. I also expressed to him that their lack of an explanation made me all the more uncomfortable. He said he understood exactly where I was coming from, and we seemed to get a better understanding of each other after the talk. He told me that M had apologized more throughout the next day. She had said that her and her friends were beyond smashed, and they thought it would be a funny thing to do to FaceTime all their guy friends and ask to see. Well, so to those of you in the comments who suggested Nick was not the only one who got this call, you are correct. She also went on to explain that because they were so wasted, they didn't realize how awkward it was until Nick said, "Mop is right here." Additionally, their mix of it was an accident and we meant to call someone else. Explanation sort of makes sense now when you consider just how drunk they were and the fact that they were in fact calling several other dudes that night. M also offered to call me directly and further apologize. All the contact her and my BF had throughout this conversation was him texting her, and he showed me afterwards. I didn't really think that was necessary. I did not want to draw the situation out more than it already had gone on. I feel as though she's sorry enough, and she does not have my number anyways, for those who are probably going to say she should have called anyways. At this point, I kind of just wanted to be over the whole mess. I did, however, ask my BF if he and M or any of her friends had any sort of relations prior to meeting me. He said no, and I believe him. Full disclaimer, I never thought I would be posting this on Reddit, but I met my BF when he was 19, and he was not very experienced with women, not even in the kissing department. So yeah, I fully believe him. He was even a bit insecure about his inexperience when we met. The rest of the girls, M's friends, never apologized other than M texting saying something to the effect of, "We're sorry," because I don't know them that well, and because they probably just feel super uncomfortable about all of this. I'm not going to ask for an apology. I will, however, think of them slightly differently and probably prefer my BF not go to any parties, social functions they might be at. No hard feelings. It's just the whole incident paired with them not really holding themselves accountable, unlike M, kind of rubs me the wrong way. I will say that because they did not make the call, they probably hold themselves to be less guilty than M, which is fair. But I can't help but feel like if I were in the situation, I would still reach out to apologize for the boundaries crossed. Oh well, for those of you who kindly suggested Nick may be cheating with him, I highly doubt it. I have been cheated on once before. Perhaps I should have included that in the original post, as it might have added more context to why this made me so upset. Anyways, I've been cheated on before, and I do not see any of the signs in Nick. I also think he would have to be pretty skilled if he were doing this, as M has been living in college for the past few years, hours away from us, and Nick and I have been together almost 24/7 the past few months, because co is still so bad in our country. And above all else, I trust Nick. I do not think he would do this. And finally, to answer the question, everyone has been dying to know, yes, my boyfriend is particularly well endowed. I don't know that I'd call it a soup can, as someone kindly suggested in the comments on my other post, but yeah, it's fat. So, their request to see his fat DCK made me all the more uncomfortable. When I finally worked up the nerve to explain this to my BF, he laughed and then immediately started blushing. Got to love that guy.